But first, let's welcome in national recruiting analyst Tom Loy for the latest on all the recruiting intel from across the country. Let's start with five-star offensive tackle David Sanders, who visited Columbus this weekend. This was, as I just said, his second trip there this spring, so things must be going pretty well for the Buckeyes. Where do they currently stand in this race?
The buzz around Ohio State is very real, Emily. My crystal ball prediction has been on Clemson since March 27th, and I still feel good about it. But if I'm picking a school to upset them and a school that's the biggest threat to potentially make me change that pick down the road, it's absolutely the Buckeyes. These stealth, behind-the-scenes, under-the-radar visits that don't really leak until a player arrives on campus, it's something to work. It's worth keeping an eye on, watching, especially when that's exactly what occurred and you have all your family on campus there with you in Columbus. So this is a big deal. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Justin Fry, they're all doing excellent work here. I think people need to take Ohio State very seriously when it comes to the pursuit of David Sanders. So watch out for the Buckeyes.
Things worked out pretty well for the last former number one offensive tackle that ended up at Ohio State. That was Paris Johnson Jr. in the 2020 class. He became a top 10 pick in the NFL draft last year. Now, Tom, you put in a crystal ball prediction for James Simon to end up at Texas this past weekend. There are a couple other predictions for LSU, but what has you leaning horns in this battle?
I, too, initially had my crystal ball pick on LSU. That was the team that I saw eventually securing his commitment, and everybody around him made that clear, that the Tigers were the team to beat. They had the edge. But as time went on and following his process and an outstanding visit to Austin, I believe Texas is now the team to beat. I spoke with multiple sources on Sunday. I was just coming off vacation a couple days away, and there's a lot of confidence coming from the Longhorns football program. So, and then when I'm checking in with people around LSU, there's not a ton of buzz and a lot of confidence there. So at this point, I really think that Notre Dame might be the biggest threat to land James Simon. But so unless there's clear misdirection, and I think there's just too much noise to ignore, too much buzz to ignore around Texas right now. So Steve Sarkisian, Tashard Choice, area recruiter Terry Joseph, they're all doing an outstanding job right now connecting with Simon and his family. I like the Longhorns to get this one done in the not-so-distant future.
All right, I want to go back to the big guys up front. Four-star offensive lineman Peyton Joseph. He has kind of two leaders in the clubhouse right now. One of them is Florida State, which you and many others have crystal ball picks in for the Noles to land him. Memphis also in this race. But what is it about Florida State that has them leading here?
For a while, even when Joseph was still committed to Florida, I was told to keep a very close eye on Florida State. They were pushing all the right buttons, doing a great job of catching his eye, grabbing his attention, and he heads to Tallahassee for what I would consider a game changer of a visit. Joseph then decommits from the Gators, and then myself, as well as my guys over at 24/7 Sports, Zach Blostein, Chris Nee, Blake Alderman, we all kind of teamed up, and we're all reported all the positive buzz as it relates to the Seminoles' chances at landing the top 150 talent. So the majority of us tossed in picks right then for Florida State to get it done on the crystal ball, but don't rule out Memphis quite yet. I mean, he's going to take an official visit. He's got a ton of interest in the Tigers. The interest is real, and they're not only a threat to land Joseph, but they're also a top contender to land his good friend and teammate, top 100 quarterback Antoine Hill. So while I think Florida State is definitely the team to beat right now, don't sleep on Memphis. I think they got an absolute shot. We'll see how things go in June.
Top 24/7 cornerback Trystan Haynes is set to announce his commitment on Tuesday. You've got Miami, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Notre Dame. They all have visits on the official itinerary for later this spring and summer. But, Tom, a couple of predictions have gone in for the Sooners. How well situated is Oklahoma in this battle down the stretch?
Blair, this recruitment got a lot more interesting than I think a lot of people expected. Early on, the perception was that Haynes was all Oklahoma. The Sooners were the favorite publicly, privately. The crystal ball had him ending up in Norman. And then Notre Dame offered and kind of shook things up a little bit. And to take it a step further, Haynes visited South Bend in April. And some people even thought that the Irish kind of pulled ahead in that process. So people kept asking me, like, why aren't you putting in a crystal ball for Notre Dame? There's so much buzz. But for me, essentially, I didn't really know if they're I was waiting for top 100 cornerback Dallas Golden to commit to Notre Dame, and that finally happened. The Irish also hold a commitment from Creed Thomas right there, and a guy you know really well, Blair, at the cornerback position. So I also think Notre Dame's in a great spot with top 100 cornerback Mark Zachary. So in the end, I expect Golden, Thomas, Zachary all at Notre Dame, and I think in the end, Oklahoma's going to land Haynes. So I think that, and I don't want people to think that Notre Dame, filled up, and that's why Haynes isn't picking Notre Dame. I think Oklahoma is a school that's been on him since the start. They've recruited him harder than anybody. And in this day and age, when you really need to lock up your spot or your spot's going to be gone, I think Haynes kind of saw the writing on the wall. I don't see him taking all the official visits he had planned. I think he is ready to make a choice. He knows where he wants to be, and I expect that to be in Norman as an Oklahoma Sooner.
I'm glad you're still hearing from the Irish fans, helping with your transition a little bit. They still want to let you know what they have to say. How about four-star safety Ladarian Clardy? He took an official to Washington over the weekend. How was the sell from the Huskies?
So, in my opinion, Washington went from a team to just kind of watch, keep an eye on, to now I'd consider them a top contender. The staff is excellent at recruiting, building relationships, and that's key for Clardy. So that's going to give him a shot there. So in talking to Clardy after the visit, he made it very clear this was a visit that was kind of a game changer for him in the sense that the Huskies are a very real threat to land him now that he's finally, stepped foot on campus. So the staff told him he's a top priority. That resonated really well for him. But big picture, keep an eye on Ole Miss. There's a lot of people that believe they've done a better job than anybody from day one of making him a priority, pushing the right buttons. I'm also keeping an eye on Vanderbilt. They're a legit threat. That would be a massive win for Clark Lee and his staff. So, and then when you look at in-state, it was essentially just UCF as the team to beat for a long time. But Florida just jumped in with an offer, and he called it a curveball, according to 24/7 Sports' Blake Alderman. So we'll see what happens. He's got some visits still to take, multiple official visits, a long way to go before he makes a decision. But the Huskies did a really good job this weekend.
I know you were on vacation last week, Tom, but you were pretty busy over the weekend. Another crystal ball to ask you about. Noah Grubbs to Notre Dame, the 2026 quarterback. You like the Irish right now. Why?
Yeah, vacations are something I do very well at. My wife would tell you. But for a while, much of the buzz with Notre Dame quarterback recruiting in 2026 was around Brady Hart, a fellow top 247 talent in the Sunshine State, just like Noah Grubbs. Notre Dame was doing a great job with him, got him on campus for a visit that couldn't have gone any better. The Irish were absolutely the leader for him, and I still think they are. But as of late, things seem to be trending in a very positive direction between Notre Dame and Noah Grubbs, one of the most productive passers in the country. But my sources have indicated that Notre Dame also leads for him, and Marcus Freeman, Mike Denbrock, Gino Guidugli are all pushing the right buttons and doing a terrific job with him. But, man, you look at the quarterback room as a whole. They flipped Kenny Minchie from 2 years ago, a four-star talent. They landed C.J. Carr last cycle, got top 150 quarterback Deuce Knight committed right now. Wouldn't necessarily call him the most firm, but I do believe he's fairly solid in that pledge. Still talking to a couple other schools. And then if you can go ahead and land Grubbs in 2026, that's a massive haul. And to be completely honest, it is the healthiest quarterback room I've seen at Notre Dame in a very long time. But I will say the only thing that could change essentially my prediction for Grubbs or Grubbs landing at Notre Dame would be that if Brady Hart, who somebody that I said was Notre Dame led for a little while, at least after that visit, he changes his timetable. He is planning on making a decision after his junior season, so he's in no hurry. But obviously he's looking around. He's seeing all the dominoes falling. If he changes his mind and moves things forward and quickly and decides to call Marcus Freeman and commit, that could shake things up. But the quarterback dominoes are falling, man. It'll be something to watch.